southern Alberta, the land of cattle, cowboys, wheat fields, and oil pumps. But there are new additions to this landscape: solar panels and wind turbines.
We're blessed with some of the best solar resource. We love the sun.
But despite the sunny prairie skies, a cloud has been cast over the province and sent a chill through a multi-billion-dollar industry just finding its footing. We got a close-up look at energy giant ATCO's most recent solar farm in Calgary.
Welcome to Deerfoot, Heather. PPE, hard hat, vest, glasses. We'll get all geared up and we'll get out. Ready to go?
Yeah, ready.
Alrighty, let's go.
The Deerfoot Solar Project and its neighbouring sister site, Barlow, together are Western Canada's largest urban solar farm. Darcy Federchuk is the man in charge of ATCO's renewable energy portfolio, which has been rapidly expanding in the last few years.
The two properties combined have enough energy to provide electricity to about 18,000 homes. They'll remove about 70,000 tons of carbon from the grid. We're really proud of them.
The Deerfoot site will be electrified at the end of November and will generate electricity even when the snow falls.
The panels are deemed bifacial, so which means on the front of them, they'll produce energy, and on the back side, they'll also produce energy basically from the sun reflection off the ground.
Right. ATCO has long been synonymous with natural gas in Alberta. Darcy says the company is not planning to get out of that business anytime soon, but rather saw an opportunity in 2015 when Rachel Notley's government announced its intention to have a greener grid.
Our goal is to become one of the world's most progressive and forward-looking energy producers.
They had instated a target to reach 30% renewable energy by 2030 and instructed the Alberta electricity system operator to come up with a plan or program to kind of launch us towards that target, especially if you're talking.
Sarah Hastings-Simon is an energy transition researcher at the University of Calgary. Alberta's solution, she says, was the creation of a unique wholesale energy market, unlike any other in the country.
Rather than being controlled by a crown corporation or by a single government entity, companies can come in and basically develop projects and sell the electricity from those projects into the market. And so what we saw was that we had projects that were able to move forward really in a big way before we saw that in other parts of Canada.
And as the cost to produce wind and solar fell, investment boomed. Nearly $5 billion has been injected into Alberta's renewable energy sector since 2019.
It really put Alberta on the map.
The open market has attracted companies with net zero goals of their own. The solar power produced by ATCO here goes into Alberta's grid, but it's purchased by Microsoft.
And in addition to that, they take the renewable energy certificate that then they use to offset their carbon intensity for their entire global footprint.
These agreements and government contracts have fueled a wind and solar gold rush. Since 2018, Alberta's renewable energy capacity has doubled. But for Alberta's current Premier, Danielle Smith, the pace of development is too fast.
If we're going to bring on solar and wind, we have to do it responsibly.
Alberta's provincial government hit the brakes suddenly in August with an announcement that no new renewable energy projects would be approved for the next 6 months.
I don't think that there's another example from Alberta's history of a time when anybody said, well, we're just going to stop and not allow any new projects to go forward during this period.
The decision blindsided the industry, but was welcomed by Paul McLaughlin. He advocates for the province's 69 rural counties.
We are getting calls like crazy that people are concerned about agricultural productivity and food security related to renewables.
Energy developers enter into contracts directly with private landowners, so municipalities have little say in where these large wind and solar farms end up, and often they're in rural areas.
We don't have as much land that's arable as you think. People that need to understand that pulling arable land out of production should be, not to say you should never do it, but you should do it with discretion and with a vision and a plan for the future.
Here's the thing, Paul is actually a fan of renewables, even wrote his thesis on them. Solar and wind help power his small farm in Ponoka County, 95 kilometers south of Edmonton.
But I guess what you're saying is you'd much rather see every farmhouse has something like this,
Yes.
as opposed to a big sort of field full of solar
Yeah,
panels.
covering farmland I think is antithetical to the concept.
But not all renewable projects are on profitable cropland. ATCO's Calgary solar project sits on land contaminated by a former fertilizer plant.
We're utilizing a set of brownfield lands that otherwise could never be used for anything else.
These large renewable projects do more than just produce green energy. They also bring new tax dollars to rural municipalities.
It's a game changer. It's changing the profile of many of the municipalities that relied on oil and gas. So my members are extremely favorable on renewables. They want balance though, and what they haven't been seeing is balance.
The pause on new solar and wind projects isn't just about giving municipalities a voice. The Premier says it's also about ensuring grid stability.
If wind only works 33% of the time and solar only works 13% of the time, we need to bring on more baseload power to make sure that we don't have rolling blackouts. That is the bottom line.
This future worst case scenario is part of Smith's campaign against the federal government's new emission reduction plans, which includes weaning electricity grids off fossil fuels by 2035. Right now, Alberta relies on natural gas to meet its baseload and peak demands, an industry Smith fears could be left behind.
Certainly, the more renewables that you have in the province of Alberta, the less natural gas that you'll need for electricity here. But again, it doesn't touch on the export piece at all, which is a significant part of our market.
Even though the pause is temporary, one estimate found the province stands to lose more than $33 billion worth of investment and 24,000 jobs.
I think the big concern is that this moratorium, and in particular the sort of dramatic action, really introduces a lot of future uncertainty.
That has already led major energy developers to take their dollars elsewhere. One company, Blue Earth Renewables, had planned to more than double its investment in solar and wind in Alberta, adding an additional 400 megawatts. But now it's looking to the US and other provinces. ATCO is too.
We have an interest in Saskatchewan. We're looking at early development opportunities there.
It's a sign the industry will continue to move forward, even if the winds of change in Alberta mean companies will seek sunnier skies elsewhere.